Bonjour. Aujourd'hui, on va réviser les adjectifs. We'll review adjectives, words that use to describe people and things. And some of these are going to be ones you did last year, and some are going to be totally new. So we're going to start with what we know and then build up on that. Les adjectifs de français 1. Petit, grand, gros, grosse, beau, moche, sympa, sympathique is the whole word, and you can shorten it to sympa, égoïste, bavard, généreux, paresseux, timide, bête, diligent, joli, drôle, énergique, facile, difficile, fort, canadien, américain, français, and their colors, rouge, orange, jaune, vert, bleu, violet, noir, blanc, brun, just for hair color, marron, all your other browns, gris. So these are all masculine forms, right? And then we have to talk about how we're going to change them, make them feminine and other stuff. So, les adjectifs réguliers, which is all the ones that you did last year. Why are these regular? As we can start with the masculine ones over here, right? Bavard, diligent, méchant. What do we do to make them feminine? Add an E. Bavarde, diligente, méchante. So compare how those sound. Without the E, these endings are all silent. With the E, we now pronounce the N because that consonant there, the D or the T, it's not the last letter anymore. So bavard, bavarde, diligent, diligente, méchant, méchante, grand, grande, petit, petite, blond, blonde. And then this last one has a different sound to go from masculine to feminine. Brun, brune, brun, brune. How do we make something plural? Add an S. Simple as that. And how do you make it feminine plural? Start with the feminine, which was adding the E, and then also add the S. So we have bavard, bavarde, bavard, bavard. Where do all of these go in relation to the thing that they're describing or the person they're describing? After that noun, right? So Sarah est une fille blonde. This is different than we normally say in English, right? We say Sarah is a blonde girl. Marc is an intelligent boy. But in French, Marc est un garçon intelligent. Luc et Marie sont des élèves intéressants. Let's look at a few adjectives that are un peu irréguliers. And you know a lot of these too. Bête, timide, difficile, drôle, égoïste, sympa. What do they have in common? They all already end with an E, besides sympa, which its full form sympathique also ends with an E, so that's going to work the same here with the A at the end. They already have an E. We're not going to add an extra E to make them feminine, so we're just going to keep them there. So I'm calling these un peu, a little irregular, because they don't have to add an E to make them feminine. They're just going to stay the same. So masculine and feminine already have an E. We don't do anything. To make them plural, we add an S like we're used to. So the masculine and feminine, these aren't pronounced any differently. Bête, bête. Timide, timide. Difficile, difficile. Marc est timide, Sarah est timide. No difference. So that's why we're going to call them a little irregular. Okay. Now here are a few adjectives that you know, but we don't necessarily know how to make them all feminine, and that's where the issues come in. So these are irréguliers, and we have different things. Généreux, généreuse. How did we make this one become feminine? We turn the X into SE. So we can make a rule with that, right? If we see EUX, it's going to become EUSE. Généreux, généreuse. What's irregular about all of these is how to make the feminine. So to make the feminine plural, whatever you did for the feminine, do that, but then add an S to the end. Okay. To make them plural, most of them It's easy, just add an S. However, if something ends with an X in French, you never add an S to make it plural. The X is also already plural. So généreux, the plural, généreux doesn't change. We have another example, the same idea. Paresseux, paresseuse. Make it feminine, EUX changes to EUSE. To make it masculine plural, do nothing. If there's an X, you don't add an S to make it plural. To make it feminine in plural, first we had to make it feminine, right? Like this, paresseuse, then add an S. Canadien. So words that end with IEN, to make them feminine, we're going to double the N. IENNE. Canadienne. Canadien. Canadienne. Plural, normal. Add an S or make it feminine and then make it plural. So this is a nasal sound. If you plug your nose, you can make the right sound. Canadien. I'm not pronouncing the N. The feminine, I am pronouncing the N. It's not nasal anymore. Canadienne. Same idea with bon. So words with the N with O-N to make them feminine. O-N-N-E. Double the N. Bon. Nasal again. Bon. Bonne. Cute. Same idea as bon. Mignon. Mignonne. Intellectuel, intellectuel. These sound the same, but to make something feminine that ends with el, we're going to double the l. E-L-L-E. Intellectuel. So all of these so far, they have other ones that work the same. But then there's some that they're the only example. Blanc, your color white. How do you make it feminine? Blanche. Just irregular and there's nothing else like it. Same thing with frais. To make it feminine, fraîche. We've got to add the accent circumflex and change the S to CHE. Frais, fraîche. Long, longue. So we're not pronouncing the G here. Long, but we are in the feminine. Long. Just another completely irregular one. The G adds a UE to make it feminine. Sportif, there's plenty of other ones that work like this. So that's another rule, just like the ones that we did up here. If something ends with IF, how do you make it feminine? IVE. Sportif, sportive. And we also have more examples like dernier, words that end with IER, that turn to ERE and an accent grave. So instead of just putting an E on the end, we also have to put an accent grave. So dernier, dernière. And again, all of these to make them plural, what you would expect, just add an S. Other than the ones that end with an X, they're already plural. So review of everything that was on this slide here in one place. What to do if it's EUX? EUSE. IEN, double the N's. ON, double the N's. EL, double the L's. IF changes to IVE. IER, add the E, but also the accent grave. So this applies to all the adjectives that look like these, right? So just because it's not on this list doesn't mean you're not going to do it. If you see something else that ends with EUX, you're going to apply that same rule. Okay. Let me skip something. La place des adjectifs. Where do all the adjectives that we've seen so far go? After the noun, right? They go at the describing word goes after the word that we're describing. Luc est un garçon généreux. Boy and then generous. Sarah est une élève intelligente. Élève and then intelligente. So whatever the describing word is, it goes after the person or thing we're describing. Now we're going to do at des adjectifs très irréguliers. You saw some of these last year, but you didn't see all the forms. You mostly just saw masculine or maybe masculine and feminine. So these are très irréguliers because they have a lot of different forms, not just masculine and feminine. There are some other issues. And we're also going to see that these, along with some others that we'll come up on in the future, go before the noun instead of after it, like the ones that we've been seeing. So let's talk about the forms first. So we have beau, vieux, and nouveau. I think you've seen beau and nouveau, but maybe not vieux. They have a weird form that's masculine that comes before a vowel sound. So if we're going to talk about a handsome friend or an old friend or a new friend, what's the word for friend? Ami, right? Starts with a vowel sound. Instead of beau, to make that nice link that we like to make in French, instead of saying beau ami, you're going to say belle amie. Instead of vieux ami, vieille amie. And nouveau becomes nouvelle. So this is before a vowel sound. Besides A, E, I, O, and U, what else would count as a vowel sound in French? Think about the letter H. Do we pronounce H in French? No, it's always silent. So what's the word for man? An right? H-O-M-M-E. So if you see the word it starts with a vowel sound. So it's not just the letter, it's the sound, vowel sound. So an old man, vieil, we can't use vieux even though is masculine because it starts with a vowel sound. The feminine of beau is belle. So that's why this is really irregular because the whole word changes, right? Vieux, vieille, nouveau, nouvelle. Think about these as they all do a double L form, but they have a little bit another spelling change as well. The masculine vowel sound forms here are pronounced the same as the feminine. So all of these here are pronounced belle, vieille, nouvelle. Masculine plural, you add an X to all of them to make them plural. Beau, vieux, nouveau. So these are all pronounced the same as the masculine singular form. And then the feminine plural is whatever the feminine was with an S. So belle, vieille, nouvelle. So that the first thing is making sure that we know what they mean, right? Because we don't just want to memorize forms and we can't use them. So the one that people tend to forget the most in French too, what it is old. So vieux and vieille. And then practicing forms. And then what else is new? These adjectives and some other ones we'll see in the future, they go before the noun, which is different than what we've seen before. So far, we've seen all of our describing words go after what they're describing. Any of these in this chart go before what they're describing. And we're going to have this little thing to help us remember which are these that go before them. So bangs. If I say, what is bangs? You say, oh, it's beauty, age, newness or number, goodness and size. What is the point of bangs? It's to help us remember what adjectives go before the noun. And notice bang starts with a B like before. So that's how you can remember. Things that count in bangs. Beau, belle, jolie, and all the masculine and feminine forms. Age. Vieux, vieille, and jeune. And there's a reminder that young is jeune. Newness or number, nouveau, nouvelle. In the future, we'll talk about what we mean by number. Goodness, bon, mauvais. Obviously, there's other adjectives we know that technically have to do with goodness, right? Like nice, but when we're talking about this concept, it's just bon, mauvais for right now. So just think about that. And then size, grand, petit. So instead of just memorizing a random list, if it fits in the category of bangs, it goes before. If it doesn't, it goes after. And again, we want to make sure that we know what everything means too, so that we can actually make sentences and talk about them. So here's some examples of bangs. Sarah est une belle fille. Why is belle before fille? Because belle is beauty, so it fits into bangs. So it can't go after fille. Marc est un grand garçon. C'est une petite classe. All of these green adjectives are part of bangs. Beauty, age, newness, goodness, size. So they go before what they're describing. If they don't fit into bangs, then they would go after what they're describing. Like these. Sarah est une fille intelligente. Intelligent doesn't fit into bangs. Beauty, age, newness, goodness, size. So it goes after what it's describing. Voila.